Every crop sprayer you see today carries a number inside it. 2 billion kilograms. That's the weight of chemicals sprayed onto the world's fields every single year. More than the combined weight of every blue whale alive on Earth. The machine that delivers those chemicals changed the course of human civilization, and it killed thousands of the men who used it. Before the sprayer existed, farmers had exactly one tool against insects: their hands. In 1845, the Irish Potato Famine killed 1 million people, not because of drought, not because of war, because of a fungus nobody knew how to stop. By 1868, the Colorado potato beetle had crossed the Mississippi and was consuming American harvests at a speed that terrified governments. A single beetle colony could strip an entire field in 72 hours. 3 impossible problems stood in the way. First, coverage. A farmer could walk his fields all day and still miss 90% of the infestation. Second, scale. A smallholder in Ohio had 200 acres of crops and 2 hands. The math didn't work. Third, time. By the time the damage was visible, it was already too late. Something had to be invented. And the first attempts nearly poisoned the very people they were meant to help. The first sprayer was built in 1880 by a French viticulture inspector named Vermorel. He called it the Éclair, the lightning. The engineering problem was deceptively simple. How do you get a liquid from a container on your back to a leaf 5 feet away in a fine, even mist? Vermorel's solution was a hand pump mechanism. Squeeze the lever, pressurize the chamber, pull the trigger. For its time, it was a miracle. One man could now treat a whole vineyard in a day, but the chemical inside the tank was the problem nobody talked about. Paris green. Paris green was an emerald-colored powder. It looked almost beautiful. It was made of copper and arsenic. It worked. The beetles died. The men who sprayed it also slowly died. Neurological damage, organ failure, trembling hands that couldn't stop shaking. They called it sprayer's disease. The machine that saved the harvest was quietly killing its operators. By the 1890s, farmers needed more than one man with a backpack. They needed to cover hundreds of acres, thousands. The engineering challenge shifted. How do you scale a hand pump to cover an entire continent? The answer came on 4 wheels, an iron tank, a hand-crank pump, a wooden boom stretching 12 feet on either side, pulled by 2 horses. For the first time in history, a farmer could treat an entire field in a single pass, but there was a new problem: pressure. The pump couldn't maintain consistent pressure across the full length of the boom. One end sprayed too much, the other too little. An engineer named John Bean, a California fruit grower who had watched his peach orchards destroyed by scale. Insects refused to accept this. Bean spent 3 years building and destroying pumps in his workshop. He tried piston designs. He tried gear systems. He tried everything. Then, in 1884, he invented the continuous action high-pressure pump, a mechanism that maintained constant, even pressure regardless of boom length. John Bean's pump became the foundation of an entire industry. His company eventually became FMC Corporation, still one of the largest agricultural chemical companies on Earth today. The Second World War changed pesticide sprayers forever. Not on farms. On battlefields. A Swiss chemist named Paul Miller had discovered something extraordinary in 1939. A chemical called DDT killed insects almost instantly. Every insect, every species. Every time. Müller won the Nobel Prize in 1948. DDT was sprayed from backpacks, from aircraft, from trucks with mounted cannons rolling through city streets. It wiped out malaria in southern Europe. It saved millions of lives, and then the birds started dying. In 1962, a marine biologist named Rachel Carson published a book called Silent Spring. She documented something that nobody in the chemical industry wanted to admit. DDT didn't just kill target insects. It accumulated in the food chain: eagles, ospreys, peregrine falcons. Their eggshells thinned. Their chicks died. Carson's book triggered the modern environmental movement. DDT was banned in the US in 1972, and the sprayer industry faced its biggest engineering challenge yet. How do you deliver a chemical precisely enough that it kills only what you want it to kill? The answer came in layers. First, GPS. In the 1990s, engineers began mounting GPS receivers onto sprayer booms. For the first time, a machine could know exactly where it had already sprayed and where it hadn't. Overlap, the single biggest cause of chemical waste in agricultural history, dropped by 40% overnight. Then came variable rate technology. Instead of applying the same dose across every meter of a field, sensors now sampled the soil in real time and adjusted the spray rate meter by meter. A dry patch got more, a healthy area got less. Nothing was wasted. Then the machines left the ground entirely. The DJI Agras T40, a 40-liter tank, a spread width of 9 meters, coverage rate, 1 full hectare in less than 7 minutes. These drones don't just spray, they think. Onboard multispectral cameras identify plant stress before the human eye can see it. AI models trained on millions of crop images diagnose the disease in real time. The drone targets only the infected area. It sprays only what's needed. It logs every drop. Compared to traditional ground sprayers, 90% less water used, 30% fewer chemicals released, 0 human exposure to toxic compounds. The man who once carried a tank of arsenic on his back until his hands wouldn't stop shaking now watches from the edge of the field while a machine does the work and makes the decisions. From a copper backpack full of arsenic carried by a man dying slowly under a summer sun, to an autonomous machine mapping fields at midnight and making surgical decisions no human brain could process in time. The pesticide sprayer didn't just evolve. It became a completely different idea about what farming can be. Targeted spraying is only one side of agricultural engineering. If you want to see how we solved the other half of the puzzle, how humanity automated the soil and learned to feed 8 billion people, check out the rest of our series on the channel. Subscribe. And let me know in the comments, which agricultural machine history do you want covered next?